Lalo THR here. I just rewatched Terrence Bud Crawford versus Israel Madrimov, as I said I would in the previous episode that I did talking about Canelo Crawford coming up, but I had to rewatch this specific fight, Madrimov Crawford, because there's a lot of people who say that Crawford actually lost this fight. And I could tell you right now, after rewatching the fight, he did not lose this fight under any circumstances. Those people that are claiming that Crawford lost this fight are either just being haters or they don't really know how to score fights. You know, because there's no way, if you know what you're doing, and listen, I'm not saying that I'm an expert by any means. I've never boxed a day in my life. I mean, my pops, he showed me some fundamentals when I was a little kid. He showed me how to throw a punch correctly and whatnot. And you know, I grew up watching boxing. You know, my first loves in life were professional wrestling and boxing when it comes to sports. I got into soccer a lot later on in life when I was in my 20s. But boxing and wrestling are the two things that were my passions early on in life since I was a little kid. Especially wrestling more so. But nonetheless, I've been watching boxing since the late 90s. I've seen it all. I mean, I've seen the rise and fall of Oscar de la Hoya, the rise and fall of Manny Pacquiao, the reign of terror of Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones Jr., the epic rise and epic fall. I've seen it all. I've watched so many fights, and not just watched as a fan just enjoying a fight. Like, I've scored probably thousands of fights in boxing scorecard apps. I remember I was a little nerd, man. Before apps were even a thing, I would pull out a paper and a pen and write down my own little scorecard, draw my own little scorecard. So I'm by no means an expert, but I have a pretty decent idea of what I'm doing. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, I have more credibility than a professional judge. I'm not going to say that, although seeing some of these professional judges' scorecards, let me tell you, it's highly questionable whether they know what they're doing. But nonetheless, if you have any knowledge of what you're doing, there is no way you could have scored the fight for Madrimov. And it was a close fight. On my card, let me pull up my scorecard. I had it 115-113 for Crawford. So really, at least on my card, worst case scenario, it could have been a draw. On my card, it could have been a draw. As a matter of fact, if Madrimov had won the 12th and final round, it would have been a draw on my card. It would have been 114-114. But that's worst case scenario for Crawford, is a draw. You know, but Crawford did more than enough to secure the fight, I thought. I mean, here's another thing I want to say before I assess the fight. You know, it is very possible to have a razor thin close fight but still have a definitive winner. It's very possible. You know, a lot of boxing fans and pundits alike, you watch a fight that's super close, and every time you see a fight that's super close, the phrase is, oh, it could have gone either way. And I mean, not saying that there isn't fights that could have gone either way, but all I'm saying is it's 110% possible to have a razor sharp, thin, close fight, but yet know who the definitive winner was. And Crawford Madrimov is a perfect example of that situation. We had a very close fight, but the winner was very, very obviously Crawford, I thought. There was a round, ladies and gentlemen, where Madrimov landed like 3 right hands, flush, unanswered. I don't remember what round it was, but it was very telling, because as I was watching that, I mean, Madrimov was landing that right hand all night. But specifically, there was a round where he was pushing Crawford back and he landed like 3 flush right hands in a row. Crawford got a little golf ball size nick on his eye. I don't know, a mark, like a little ball forming on his right eye. from all of those right hands. And I just couldn't help but think to myself, what if Canelo lands 3 right hands in a row? I don't think it'll take 3 right hands. I think if Canelo lands 1 right hand flush in the same fashion that some of them right hands from Madrimov was landing, it's gonna be bad news for Crawford and for Crawford fans. Because, again, there's weight classes for a reason. That's another thing. I hate to say that. I hate to say that just because I sound like a broken record. And there's other boxing content creators out there that also sound like broken records. But we keep having to repeat this because it seems like this fact is just lost on everybody. At least everybody that's in the Crawford camp, in the Crawford crowd. And you know, let me also say, I like Terence Crawford. I really do. Let me say right now, his punches, watching him throw punches in this fight, it's like, whether it's a jab, whether it's a straight right, whether it's a left hook, whether it's a body shot, whether it's an uppercut, every single punch that Terence Crawford throws is like a picture perfect textbook punch that you will ever see somebody throw. Every punch that Terence Bud Crawford throws is like the most beautiful punch you will ever see in your life. I am not taking nothing away from Terence Crawford, dog. He's a tremendous fighter, a talented boxer on so many levels. But there is, in fact, weight classes for a reason, man. I sound like a broken record. I know I sound like a parrot, just parroting the same thing. And all the other boxing content creators parroting the same thing. But again, I'm going to say it one more time. You know, Madrimov, there was a round. I want to say it was the 5th or 6th round, maybe the 7th. Somewhere in the middle point of the fight. Madrimov landed like 3 flush right hands in a row. Unanswered from Terence Crawford, okay? I don't think Canelo needs to land 3 flush right hands in a row. If he lands just 1 of those flush right hands in a row, Terence Crawford is going down just like Jaime Munguia, just like Berlanga, just like all them cats, Caleb Plant. I mean, everybody that, everybody keeps harping also on the fact that Canelo hasn't gotten a knockout in like 4 years. But it seems like everybody Canelo has fought has touched the canvas. Charlo, Caleb, Berlanga, Munguia, all these cats that are significantly bigger and stronger than Crawford, mind you. So, yeah, Canelo doesn't have very many knockouts these past 4 years. That doesn't mean that dude doesn't hit hard. That doesn't mean that he don't have power. You know, a lot of these cats feel Canelo's power and then they look at Charlo. You know, Charlo was getting confident just like Crawford is right now. Charlo was getting confident in the fight. He felt that power. He hit the canvas and the whole fight just completely changed. The tempo of the fight, the rhythm of the fight, everything just completely changed. And we're going to see the same thing September 13th. I said in the last episode that I'm predicting Canelo to win, most likely by unanimous decision, because he's probably going to knock Crawford down. I think I'm going to change that. I think I'm going to actually pick Canelo to win by knockout, bro. Just because if Canelo goes down from a right hand, I just don't know if he's going to get up the same way that Berlanga got up, the same way that Munguia got up, the same way that Charlo got up. All these cats that are significantly bigger and stronger than Crawford, I just don't know if he's going to have that wherewithal to get up and continue like that, whether he runs around or not. And that's going to be the most interesting thing about this fight, is to see if Crawford can, take Canelo's punch, and if he could, let's just say hypothetically, Canelo does land some flush right hands the same way Madrimov was landing on Crawford, and Madrimov eats them like Skittles, then you might be onto something. Then I'm going to be like, oh shit, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is not how the script was written, man. This dude is defying all logic. This dude is defying the laws of physics over here. Eating punches from a big boy like Canelo. I mean, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But I wanted to get this out because I rewatched that Madrimov Crawford fight, and Crawford did not lose to Madrimov. That's nonsense. Worst case scenario, it was a draw. But Crawford did not lose that fight.